Hey, welcome back. This is the 82nd segment of Making Sense for 7 minutes, and it is the 12th segment out of 25 where we are taking a hard look at evil and suffering. Now, I am a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus because I am convinced that the worldview that is presented to us in the Bible is the most intellectually solid of all the other worldview options that are out there. And so when I look at the scriptures, I find that it not only gives us sufficient intellectual handles where we can begin to understand something of the complexity of evil and suffering in the world in light of the existence of an all-powerful and all-loving God, but it also gives to us guidance. And in fact, for Christians, it's more than guidance, it's instructions as to how we are to respond to evil and suffering. And so I'm going to offer 7 such responses, most of which are going to really address mostly how we ought to respond to the problem of evil. And the first of these responses actually has 3 components to it. The first is self-examination, then there is repentance, and then hope. Now, this then will address the role that you and I as individuals play in the suffering around us. In other words, it addresses the evil in our own lives and the sins that we commit against other people that hurt them. Now, when we speak of self-examination, here's what it looks like, according to Os Guinness in his excellent book, in Unspeakable. Here's what he says. There is the acknowledgement that evil resides in each of our hearts. Such an acknowledgement includes both realism and a sense of personal responsibility, which are in clear contrast to the mistaken responses to evil that are widespread today. And I would suggest to you that those responses that are widespread today include, 1, the flat-out denial that there is anything wrong with us or that we've done anything wrong, or 2, the push of responsibility onto someone else or to some vague something else like society, or 3rd, just the whole denial of any sort of evil in existence or the existence of sin. Now, the accurate perspective really comes into sharp focus when you look at an account a number of years ago when the Times of London asked several British intellectuals to write what they thought the problem with the world was, and the celebrated Catholic theologian and philosopher journalist G.K. Chesterton sent back a postcard, and on it he wrote, "I am." Now, let me raise this question. Self-examination. If you think that God should put a stop to people hurting others, would you like for him to begin with you? Then a second component to this first response is repentance. It is not enough just to acknowledge and recognize our selfishness and the sinfulness and the sin that we commit. Repentance is essential. And this is not just saying, I'm sorry. Repentance is, by definition, a turning away from the sinfulness in our lives. And if it's really going to be what it needs to be, it's going to be not only a turning away from, but a turning to Jesus, who is the only one who can bring about a transformation of character in any of our lives. And incidentally, this type of repentance that I'm talking about, it's a lifestyle. It's daily. And then finally, the third component of this first response is hope. Not wishful thinking, but an expectant certainty that you don't have to stay where you are. That Jesus is willing to bring about a transformation of your character. And thus, the evil in your own life does not have to prevail, just as the evil in the world, because of Jesus, is not going to prevail. So, I've got 6 more responses to share with you. Until then, thanks, y'all.